Welcome to the podcast that's designed to fuel your success in selling technology solutions. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus, and this is Next Level Biz Tech. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're talking about the hot topic that everybody wants to hear about. We got to have AI in the title. Today is AI overload and the mind-blowing ways that artificial intelligence actually elevates CX, the customer experience. On with us today, we have the amazing Audra Lindell from Lucidia IT. Audra, welcome on.
Nice to see you, everybody.
Audra, we got a lot of stuff to jump in on here, but the first thing I want to talk about for anybody that doesn't know you,
Okay.
I like hearing about people's stories. So tell me, did
Yeah.
you have a windy path? Did you have a linear path? How'd you get here?
Yeah, for sure. So I graduated from Ball State University a long time ago, and I graduated in speech communications degree. So I feel like I'm actually using my degree and putting it to use, right? Paid off those student loans. Right after I graduated, I left for Seoul, South Korea to teach English for a year. And then when I returned, I joined the military. So I was a United States military 63 Bravo, which is a mechanic for those of you who are not familiar with that. I served 10 years and while I was also going to Ball State. And then after I decided that it was time to move on, I landed my very first contact center agent job, collecting on student loan debt, handling very sensitive financial data. I think that was probably the hardest job I've ever had, collecting on student loan debt. From there, I became a supervisor in the contact center. Then I moved on to corporate training. Then I became a director of 85 locations at ITT Technical Institute, helping with those students who wanted to take the hybrid approach of attending on campus and online. And then I became a contact center designer for Converge One. And I think that position really was the pivotal position in my career where I really fell in love with the customer experience, with contact center, with supervising, with workforce management, staffing. My brand image, I like to say that Audra Lindell loves contact center more than Cupid loves Valentine's Day.
I love
So
it.
as of today, I'm about 25 years in the industry, which is crazy to think about. And over the various roles, I really feel like, again, my speech communications degree is really playing a part in my experience.
Love it. Good stuff. First of all, thank you for your service.
Thanks.
I love that path, right? Fellow Hoosier also. So that's a big deal here. Um, let's talk about Lucidia here for a second, right? So you've
Okay.
had this cool path. You've seen the progression of technology. For anybody that doesn't know who Lucidia IT is, obviously a great partner of ours, right? We appreciate the partnership, but help us understand a little bit about what your role is and who is Lucidia.
For sure. So at Lucidia IT, I serve as the contact center practice lead or overlay. And we have about 6 pillars we can do business in. So we have about 7 account executives. We have a location here in Indiana, and we recently launched our Ohio location. Again, we're not restricted by territory, which makes it nice. We can really sell anywhere, but we can also embed inside of a customer's business, inside of their infrastructure, managed services, cybersecurity, physical security, and then a data center, networking, really the gamut across the board. And so where we dive in, I'm the UCaaS and contact center practice lead. So anything voice related, anything customer experience. We actually were named Inc. 5000, one of the fastest growing companies in the state of Indiana.
Wow.
And one really cool thing to note is that we achieved a ranking of 482 out of 7 million applicants. So
Wow.
that positions us very well to when considering IT, Lucidia IT as a solution provider.
Love it. Huge differentiator. Congrats on that.
Yeah,
That's a
thank you.
hard list. That's a hard list to get into. Good stuff there. Um, I mean, anything to dive deeper on that just a second before we start talking a little bit about kind of AI and CX, anything as you kind of talk to these customers and you do some of these engagements that helps you guys stand out from the competition?
I would say where Lucidia's our strength is really the dedication to making sure we're grabbing those customer requirements. We dive deep, we stay sticky. And it becomes a collaborative decision-making process with the customer, very much included from the very beginning until the end of the design, and then making sure that we can continue to partner with them in other areas of our business.
Love it. Let's talk about lessons learned here. One of my favorite things, I never thought this was definitely not an interest of mine in high school or in college, but history, right? And so I like to learn current leaders, learn from previous leaders, learn from Julius Caesar. I mean, it goes back and back and back, right? So if you just look back, let's look back 5 years, 10 years, 15
Sure.
years, some of those key lessons that you've kind of brought with you into this role now.
Absolutely. So I would say anytime I think about gathering requirements for a customer, I always know basic phone usage, ACD routing, reports, recording. Those all come into play. I think a very, very important lesson I learned. I showed up on site, I delivered agent training, I reported back to my boss at the end of the day, and I said, "Hey, everything went great. I'll be back on site tomorrow to deliver supervisor training." Showed up the next day, and you take supervisors who've been on a solution even just for a year. They know the reports they run every day. They know exactly how to conduct their business, the performance management, and how to manage their team. We trained them on the reports. We started training them. They had attended the agent training the previous day, so they felt really comfortable. But today we're training them on how to do their job every day as a supervisor. And report data can be similar, but sometimes when you start talking about naming convention, and I was pulling this report yesterday, and now I'm pulling a different report in a different solution, and the data elements don't match up, and I can't customize my data. I'm exporting it into pivot tables. It's just not working for me. So I saw great stress, and it was a challenge. So from that day forward, I always, when it comes to gathering requirements during the discovery phase, I will ask for the reports that those supervisors are running today, currently, and then I send those to the providers or the solution suppliers that they're considering, so that we can do a match, so that when that supervisor walks into that office the day they transition, they already know the reports they're going to run and they're set up for success. So that was a very huge lesson, and challenging for sure, but it stayed with me.
Yeah, and they feel like they were. Oh, she listened. Oh my gosh, they
There
understand
you go.
us. They got our requirements because I think customers are sometimes so used to. I'm going to have to repeat this a lot of times to the vendors, but when they see the solution actually gets built right, that's a smooth process because of your efforts, which they,
Right.
keeps them coming back, right?
Well, and we really start, in my opinion, your transformation starts, or your onboarding really starts the day you decide to consider a new solution for your customer base, your
Yeah.
internal customer base, your teams. You need to get them excited at that point. They really should be involved in the entire process versus coming in, "Oh, hey, guys, we changed to a new solution today."
Yeah,
So
yeah, that goes well.
yeah. So report that report comparison, and I would say going back to, I think you're about to maybe ask me this question, but really what makes us stand out with suppliers is they now know to expect that level of data from us, when it
Yeah. Yeah,
when it
that that does fine tune kind of, what are suppliers expecting? They know what it's going to be like. So you form a tighter relationship with the suppliers that you know and you trust, right? So they need those
absolutely.
kind of things. Yeah, 100%. All right, let's talk about. I mean, we're talking about AI. We're talking about elevating CX, right? With some of these great tools and technologies that we didn't have in years past. So let's start this off maybe with a big challenge. So what's a big challenge that you see in the customer experience today, and then maybe the value in how you help solve that?
Okay. So going back to my days as a mechanic in the United States Army, I do these things called customer tune-ups, right? You take your car in for a tune-up. Why would you not take your customer experience in for the same type of tune-up? So I always challenge my customers, when's the last time you called into your IVR and tested that inbound phone number? So my mini reviews consist of at Lucidia IT really testing all of the channels, to make sure what we're watching for response times. Phone calls, you're probably waiting in queue. Average speed of answer for 2023 was 28 seconds. So a lot of customers have a challenge meeting that average speed of answer. But I'm also looking for response times. If you are offering an email channel on your websites, customer facing, make sure that you're setting that expectation of when can Josh expect to hear back from you, especially because email volumes can change. And then really connecting that email experience with that voice. So if I call into your contact center, do you know that I've sent an email? So really connecting that omni-channel customer experience. So what I'm looking for during those mini reviews are response times, email response times, and really setting those clear expectations. And then menu options. I can't tell you how many times I call in after hours and you're offering, or the customers are offering the option to speak with an agent. If agents are available 24/7, that's great. Or if you are outsourcing that and you do have someone available, otherwise my encouragement or my best practice is to make sure that you're removing that option from the menu. So I would say from a biggest challenge right now, it's probably staffing and response
Yeah.
times, and then making sure that your channels are connected.
Yeah, I've always loved this. A partner taught me this years and years and years ago, and I said, "What are some great tips that you have?" And he said, "When every time I walk into any business anywhere, I look over the counter, I see what kind of phone they have, I gather a little knowledge about it." But you're really taking that. I mean, it's such a valuable thing because I don't know that the customers, their job is to just go, this isn't working, like help me fix it, and they don't maybe understand the why. But you're just going in and dialing in and combing through the IVR and going, and I think when you bring that data back, that's such a more valuable conversation for the customer and has to help you just stand out because you've done things that others just haven't.
And sometimes they don't know that they're disconnecting calls or their lines are ringing a fast busy because they don't have enough
Crazy.
ports, right? So I think it's just our job really is to provide insight. And sometimes it helps us open the door to accounts where we don't have relationships. And we're just saying, hey, we want to make sure that you understand when we
Yeah.
called your phone number at this time of day, the call was disconnected. It routed to a fast busy signal. And so many times they've just thanked us for bringing that to their attention.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome strategy. All right. So this part, I mean, I want to talk about. I call this segment "Surprising Wins." So I
Okay.
like to hear when we get into the weeds in a deal, the tech stack they had before versus the tech stack they had after. And I think when we get into customer engagements, sometimes the information that we get, it's exactly that's the situation that we find, and then other times it just ends up completely different. So walk us through one of those where you had a surprising win. What was that journey like? How did it start, and kind of where did that go?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that the NCAA win indeed came as a great surprise for our team. Again, that started with existing relationships and the pillars that I previously mentioned at Lucidia IT. And so we played a significant role in their transformation. Again, getting them excited, starting the conversation of you're currently on this solution and you'd like to consider moving to a different solution. We found ourselves sitting at the table. At the time, we weren't the partner of record for their existing solution. So we served as their consultant, right? Sitting at the table, I actually prepped my competitor for the presentation, really staying seated in that trusted advisor position to make sure that we'd gathered the requirements. And they brought in 4 vendors to start with. Again, their competitor, their current provider. And then we brought in 3 different ones that really met the requirements. I love on-site demonstrations. I just think that that's where it's at.
Yeah.
You can really begin. Their team starts to trust the account executive, their product. So it really allows for a deeper dive conversation during the on-site presentation. We immediately offer a feedback session to make sure, hey, how did that go? My analogy is everybody probably listening has bought a new house. When you walk through that front door, what's the first thing you ask yourself as you toured? Could I live here? Can I live here? And so my encouragement whenever I'm working with a customer and we're showing prospective vendors is, can you live here? Is it easy to navigate? Does it meet your requirements? What are your points of friction? So we conducted feedback sessions. They took 4 vendors and immediately down selected to 2. For about 4 weeks, we teetered with between those 2 vendors. So I had to find a way to help really finalize that decision. Again, staying, you know, seated in that trusted advisor position. So I introduced something called workshops. It's similar to a proof of concept or a proof of value, but you're not really testing everything. You're testing those top priority requirements that are a must-have. So we conducted reporting workshops with each one of the down select vendors, and then we also had a workshop around quality. Again, making sure that we take that deep dive because you can export a call recording. Everybody can say, yeah, we can run reports. But what does that output of the report look like? And can I use that to manage my team on a day-to-day basis? So the result of those 2 workshops helped them down select the final vendor.
Love it. Yeah, love the detail there. I think sometimes as you get into these, the customers just don't know what journey or what it is to expect. They don't know the exercise, so it's awesome to kind of see that exercise that you run them through, and then obviously it's kind of circular in value. You get to see how much value you got to get out of this, and how much they got, and what that did for the relationship, and then you can
Right.
kind of go, all right, cool, let's go do it again. Right, that worked really well. Awesome stuff.
But you nailed it. I mean, I think that just the surprise, we like birthday surprises, right? We like surprise wins. But the surprise win is really a reminder that success does lie in the details,
Yeah.
and the attention to detail, which my drill sergeant for sure taught me. I do not
Yeah.
know, but I will find out.
Yeah, yeah, great answer. Yeah, never. There's always a way to find out. Even if you don't know, that's okay. But you can figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little about AI. So we
Okay.
talk a lot about the productization of AI, and I think if you're outside looking in, it kind of looks like okay, everybody's talking about they have some component of AI. And so, I mean, from your perspective as a partner, right, where you are required to understand and know and what supplier does what and what tool and what spot is this a dial pad, is this a whoever, Vaughn, whatever, right tool, right spot.
Sure.
Um, what do you think the channel, if the folks on the channel, if the suppliers are listening, what do you think that the channel can do better in the productization of AI over time in this gold rush?
For me, I would tell you a story of, again, I was at Converge One, and I've really been on one product, I would say, for the length of my 24 years now, having been at Lucidia for 3. Knowing that there are 211 different phone solutions customers can choose from. I remember the very first time I saw wrap-up code assignment. Automatically assigned based on the conversation the agent had with the customer versus an agent choosing from over 175 configured wrap-up codes to assign the right wrap-up code. So I think from a channel perspective, really making sure that we're trained. I don't know that there's a way that we can be trained on all 211, but making sure that we really understand the difference. We understand when AI works, it works well. When it creates customer friction, where there's tuning involved, really just making sure that we're all up to speed, because obviously technology is constantly evolving. So I think from a channel perspective, just making sure that you're getting in front of us and keeping us up to speed. Yeah.
So if you think about AI, does this is I don't know, this is a little bit of a like a religious stance conversation, I guess, but does AI stand alone as a platform? Does it always end up being a feature of an existing product that we know and understand that gets matured over time and iterated on and gets better and better? What's your read on that?
Yeah. I think it can be both for, just knowing, and again, a great example. I think Sam Nelson's doing a great job as far as making sure that we understand where we can take a product and overlay it. Maybe we're not looking to do a rip and replace, but we can take one solution, and I'll just call it one specifically, that makes the most sense here is Level AI. Having been a quality manager, I would come into work and I would have a plan for my day, listen to 5 call recordings for these 5 agents once a week. And everybody else had a different plan for my day. I can put Level AI on top of my current contact center solution and listen to over like 100% of my calls can be coached real time, which is again best practices. If I listen to a call from Monday and I coach the agent on Friday, that call's already passed, right? So I think the shift there as a standalone product is the ability to add on a product like Level AI. When it's included, again, you take 5 nines IVA and customer calls in. I had a customer, they literally took 12 months to train their agents. Well, can you imagine what happens with attrition over a 12-month period?
Yeah.
But if you have kind of that IVA and that next best action, you're going to shorten your training time, hopefully reduce attrition by quite a bit. So again, I think just going back to your original question, Josh, both standalone and both included are very successful ways to approach.
Yeah, I think it's a great point too. And I mean, if you think about what we're trying to do is, as people that are trying to sell technology solutions here, we do need both, because it all comes down to what the customer's buying cycle is. Maybe they're not
Mhm.
ready to do a full rip. Maybe they've just gotten embedded into a tech stack that they didn't love, and they need
Mhm.
that standalone. So yeah, you're right. I mean, good message. Both is a good answer there for sure.
Good.
Let's talk about risks. Let's say I'm an organization and I go, robots aren't going to take our job. This is fine. It's another, I've been through a bunch of paradigm shifts. What's the risk to me as an org if I'm a business out there listening to this
Sure.
and I don't embrace and adopt these in some capacity? What do I miss out on, or what happens?
Well, and so I'll take it, I think, again, just as we're talking about really gathering those requirements, some customers aren't ready for it either. They think they are. But in my opinion, when AI works, it works great. When it doesn't, I think I've already said this, but it causes customer friction. And that's because some customers have what I would call kind of a more traditional clientele. They want, when that call rings, they want it to go straight to somebody to answer, right? They don't want any of the in between. I think solutions risk, and so that was more of a risk for the
Mhm.
customers, if they try it and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The risk to providers if they aren't heading in that direction, or at least providing some portion of AI, they risk being left behind by competitors. Again, my wrap-up code scenario or use case. Again, having been on one platform and then moving and seeing another platform do it so differently and remove the manual action and really deliver an efficiency. That's the risk to providers not moving in that direction.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I was on a discovery call yesterday. Super modernized customer, super sharp, and was looking at some of the pricing of adding kind of some of the Copilot licensing that Microsoft
Mm,
offers,
sure.
and just some of the simple things that he needed to write. Write me a report on XYZ, blah blah blah. He said for my seat, I bought a multitude of these licenses. The second they came out, I bolted it right on top of my E5s, and from that one thing, that one thing that I had it do, that the effectiveness and the value of that project that it did for me paid for this thing for the next 24 months. So
Mm,
I think it seems like such a different way
sure.
where people are like, oh, this is a new thing. It's an increased cost. This is so different.
Mm,
And thankfully in our favor, where we don't have to tell people, no, no, this is important. It's important. And they see cost optimization, and they see, pick a reason to buy. It seems like there's a
right.
lot of that's here in these offerings.
Well, and it might even increase brand loyalty. If I call in and an agent really needs to take that full 2 minute after call work time versus that wrap-up code automatically assigned to that call. Of course, we want to make sure that it's correct, right?
Right.
Listen to the summary. That's really an ROI because I am then getting on the phone with that next customer, reducing wait times, increasing my service levels. So
Yeah.
bring up a good point.
Final couple questions here. So I'm a partner. I'm listening to this. I'm excited. Maybe I'm not into this tech area, but maybe you've got me excited to move into this tech area. What advice do you have for the partners? Where do they start? What should they do? Imagine yourself before you got into this space and you want to get into this space.
Sure. I would say a lot of the suppliers now or vendors, they offer a free proof of concept. So I would say test it, try it on for size. I mean, all of us have taken a picture of somebody at a party. We like their dress, and then we've scanned it into Amazon. The very first time you did it, it might have scared you, but then now you're constantly saying, hey, where can I buy this product? I think the same is true for AI. Everybody's talking about it. It's the buzz. What does it really look like? And really, how does it fit into your organization? Because again, going back to my previous use case, some customers want to use it. They think they want to use it, but it doesn't fit. So I think you really need to determine your strategy for where AI fits within your customer database, and then you're training your team as well.
Love it. All right. Final thoughts. We look into
All
our crystal
right.
balls. We look into the future. So let's think
Yeah.
about the customer experience, right? Where do you see? I mean, there's so much tech here. Where do you see the
Mm.
customer experience heading in the next few years? Innovations. You tell us anything you think the future is going to be.
Sure. Well, if you were a crystal ball, I'm gonna put my wish in.
Yeah.
I would love the future of AI. I mean, based on the conversation we're having today, you can tell I gather a ton of requirements. We do side-by-side shadowing sessions, remote sessions, really making sure that we understand every single use case for a customer who might be considering transitioning to a new platform. But what that also means is I'm taking all of those requirements and then I'm mapping them out. So if you've ever responded to an RFP, you know that there's a bullet point of, hey, we want all of these things. I work a lot with Megan Ty and Michael Ballinger and Jason Lowe to say, okay, here's my next RFP. What are the best partners to introduce and respond with? I want that to be automated. I would love to just type in all of my customer requirements and say, Audra, these four, oops, I just threw my microphone. These four providers or suppliers would be your best fit. Because right now, sometimes it's a trial and error, sending the RFP to say, hey, can you do this?
Yeah.
You know, do you offer this feature set? So for me personally, that's what I would love. And then I was even thinking, I love to design videos, but sometimes aligning those connectors are just a little tedious, takes a lot of time. What if I, as the designer, as a contact center designer, could actually speak my options? Customer calls into this toll-free number, here are the menu options, here's where the call routes, and it's kind of designing it automatically in the background. So that's the next challenge for some vendor on listening to this call to do just that. But I think really the future of contact center, I recently had a conference call and there was a halo. I think that's how they're going to refer to it. But I was basically on a Zoom call and I could see the lady transporting the speaker, transporting from country to country. And she was like visiting these rooms, a holograph, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So I think, well, right now we hear folks say, I don't want to talk to anybody. There's a generation that we don't want to call. We just want to text. We want to use your web chat. But I think the more personalized we can make that experience, the more we can know why a customer is calling and make sure that they're not repeating themselves. That's really the future of contact center, that personalization, the efficiency gain for the team and the customer.
Love it. Okay. That wraps us up. I'm out of questions. Audra,
Really?
you crushed it. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Very good.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
until next time, Audra Lindell, Lucidia IT. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus. This has been Next Level BizTech. Go like and subscribe.
Next Level BizTech has been a production of Telarus Studio 19. Please visit Telarus.com for more information.